Yeah.
If you do not have it, jump truck, paddle, or good conference, well, you gotta get recorded.
Right. So, hey, Martin.
Hey,
Yes. I was able to get up a little bit earlier this time. Morning, Jordan. Thank you.
She just asked.
Oh, okay, I'll give them.
Hi, Buck.
Hello, how are you? Good.
Jordan, did you want an agenda?
Sure.
Hey, Judge,
Hey, Martin.
is that
Yes, she is. And Mary Jane, too.
okay?
Stephen Burr.
Hey, Steve, good. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
You still out of town?
Yes, sir. Further out of that.
Oh, okay. All right. Just right past the city limits, right?
I'm more out of town than I was the other day. About
I don't believe you. Okay, we are drawing near to 9. We're at the 10:59 hour. Well, the hour has arrived, and as presiding officer of this governing body, I'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Tyler County Commissioners Court to order. We'll let the record reflect that the quorum is present. We have 2 commissioners participating by conference call, both Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Sturrock, and then the other 2 commissioners are here in the courtroom. With that being said, it is the practice of this court to begin our meeting with an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Today, I have invited Jordan Wilson of the Country Church, who pastors that facility here in the community, to come and offer our invocation. And then as he comes to do that, or stands there to do it, will be perfectly fine. Then we will go into a Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. If there's any present that are not comfortable with our invocation or either our pledge to the flag, we can certainly invite you to step out of the room or mute your line while we do that. Stephen and Martin, there's a little bit of a delay whenever y'all participate with us in the pledge. So would you be willing to do it silently? Because it throws a reverberation to the room. Okay, with that being said, Pastor, would you offer an invitation for us?
Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, what a blessing it is, God, to be here today. And God, do work and do your work here in Tyler County. God, it's such a great place to live. And God, I thank you, God, for the opportunity to live and work and raise a family in Tyler County. And God, thank you that you have raised up these men and these women, God, to lead us. I pray, God, you would continue to guide them and give them wisdom in this time. God, we know that it's been a challenging time over these last few months and weeks. And God, there are probably challenging times ahead. So God, I pray you would give them an extra dosage of just strength, God, and energy, God, to continue to lead us through this time. And God, I thank you so much for their sacrifices in leading already. Father, we want to just make sure, God, today as we're here, God, that we do everything to honor you and, God, to continue to keep Tyler County the way it is, and God, and even push it forward and make it better than what it already is. So God, thank you for our ability to gather today. Be with us now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay. To the American flag salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Thank you, Pastor. We always extend an invitation to the pastors to stay and participate in the meeting. Sometimes they can get some pretty good sermon messages that come out of our meetings. But if you have other responsibilities, we certainly do recognize that. And thank you for your willingness to come and serve our court this morning with communication. All right. With that being said, I want to welcome our guests. I have not met you, and let me put my glasses on. Would you tell us who you are?
Victoria Dye with LJA Engineering.
Hi, Victoria. Good to have you with us. Mayor from Ivanhoe. Good to see you. Good to have you with us. Eleanor, Marinelle, good to have you all with us this morning. Okay, I think that's pretty much our guests. So we're glad you've joined with us today. If you will, pause with me for just a moment. We are transitioning into the public comments section, and I would ask Madam Clerk, if we had anybody that has signed up and requested to speak.
We have not, Judge.
Okay, so we will satisfy that and go on to our consent portion of the agenda. It is the practice of this court to receive the minutes into the record, and we do have some minutes from the July 27th meeting that are before us. And if it's the pleasure of the court just to receive those, I'll await your motion in a second. Okay, Commissioner Hudson and Commissioner Marshall has the motion in a second. And all approving receiving the minutes for the record, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Sturt? Okay, so it is unanimous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it is unanimous. That takes us to the monthly reports, rather. We have our adult and juvenile probation, the county clerk, auditor, justice of peace, and we've gotten the extension report, and I think you've got the treasurer's reports for us.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, good. Are we still missing the district clerk report?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the only one that's absent from our monthly reports before you today. If you'd like to receive those as submitted into the record, or if you prefer to set any aside for discussion, the chair will await your motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the reports as presented.
Okay, there is a motion. Commissioner Marshall.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sturt. Okay, any comments? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we have 3 ayes. Commissioner Nash? Okay, it is unanimous. We received the monthly reports into the record. That's going to take us to our resolutions portion of our agenda. You may recall we have added this particular item because of the activity during the course of the year that resolutions are just part of the activities of the court. We have 2 before us. One is the 2020 2022-008 resolution. That's acknowledging the action of the court on August 3rd to participate in the CARES Act funding on behalf of the county and to now designate the authorized person to sign the official documents in behalf of them. Looking at that from our last meeting, that was an item that we needed to capture. We had official activity that was satisfactory from our action last week, but this specifically gives us authorization to identify a signer for the official documents. And I will await a motion and a recommendation on the signer.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a recommendation on the assigner on behalf of the court?
Yeah, that you ought to.
Okay, I can and will.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we have a motion and second for the resolution that we took action on to participate in CARES Act funding, and then the motion also included the signature of myself on the official documents. Okay, with that being said, is there comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Okay.
Aye.
All right, and that's unanimous. That takes us to item B, and that's resolution number 2020-009. That's for submitting application for the 2020 Help America Vote CARES Act sub-grant, and our county clerk brings that to the court's attention. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Actually, when we did the CARES Act grant back in June, this grant was part of that resolution. But at the time, we didn't have the money part of, the Secretary of State held off on that until we finished our cybersecurity audits. And so now they have given us $120,000 in grant funds, and the county's match of that is $16,000.
16,000.
Yes, sir. So this will do anything technology-wise, and if anybody has any questions about that, they can ask Donald. He reviewed our audit, and so Donald will be making recommendations for that. We're also can purchase more express votes, so we're trying to do everything we can to keep people from having to wait in line in November.
Very good.
So that's what we'll be doing with this grant.
Very good. Thank you. So is there a motion to this effect? So thank you, Commissioner Marshall. So
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Stirk, thank you. I have that as a second. Comments or questions?
Yes, Judge, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The funds for this, that's part of the 25% that we were talking about last week on the CARES Act, or how the money spent, or is this separate?
It will be separate. Now I'll ask Donnie's to speak to that.
It is separate, because this is the HAVA CARES Act, which means Help America Vote Act CARES portion. It doesn't have anything to do with that grant that we had a meeting about previously.
Did you get that, Commissioner?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All righty. Very good. So there's any other comments or questions on this resolution? And what's the favor of the court? All say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. That takes us to the consider, approve, and informational section of your budget agenda, your agenda with the budget amendment line item transfer. Jackie, I'm not aware of any. Okay, so that's a standing item of action on the court. It takes us to item B, and that's a presentation of the 2019 Distinguished Award for the Texas Historical Commission. We have several members, and Debbie Walker has joined us as well. So in respect of social distancing and how we normally would do this, and we're trying to be respectful of keeping everybody safe, we have the Distinguished Service Award here, and what I'm going to do is actually read it, and then if I can, pass it over the bench here, and if y'all are comfortable in taking a picture, I saw Chris here. Chris, welcome. for the booster. It says Texas Historical Commission presents this 2019 Distinguished Service Award to Tyler County Historical Commission in recognition of its active and well-balanced preservation program. Signed, Mark Wolf, Executive Director, June 10th, 2020. And so, let me slip my mask on and I'll walk across and hand it. All righty. And Marinelle, if you will, please share with those present what y'all plan to do at your next meeting in regard to this and discuss that. Would you do that for everyone?
I'd be happy to.
Do you want to let Chris get the photograph, Judge, and you present it?
Yes, while
Sure,
you're still
okay.
here, and see if you can get these guys back here. Maybe can you come take a picture now, Chris? Actually, we've received this 2 years in a row while he's getting ready. Debbie, you want to come on up? Eleanor says she's not coming. Come on.
Okay, okay.
She has on her.
I'm taking this off. Where do you want?
We probably want to be careful about our masking, ladies.
Okay.
Just to be sure.
Just for the picture, I'm taking it off.
But he wants us to be
It's whatever.
socially correct.
I think it'd be a good.
Probably against the exact thing, but it's.
They'll recognize our hair.
For like the.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Marinelle.
Okay, can I then say a minute?
Yes, please.
My understanding, when we first received our first one of these, and we have received several, it's of all the things you do during the year, and I'm so proud of this because, you know, people don't know what you're doing. They don't know what you do as commissioners. You know, they know something's happening, but maybe not what. Well, you have to document all the things you do and write detailed reports. And so the chair usually does that. And Bob Morris has been our chair for these previous 2 years, and he does a wonderful job on things like this. And out of 254 counties, they awarded the Distinguished Service to 79. So it's really an honor, and it does show that you've done some good things and that you've detailed those in a document. So I'm really pleased to receive it, and tomorrow is our regular meeting at 12. If you're around, I asked Chris if he would come again tomorrow if we didn't have very many here today, because several people had other obligations.
Sure.
So if you could be with us tomorrow, you know, we'll meet downstairs, and we'd love to have it again, because we want to get a nice article in the Booster about it.
Good. Thank you, Marinelle.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion for acknowledging this presentation? Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephen. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And it is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you, Marinelle. Let's see, Mike, you have item C, I believe it is.
Authorize the Beach Architectural Group Incorporated to seek bids for construction for remediation and rehabilitation activities as recommended in the courthouse remediation bill. We've been back and forth over all this, but I just like, I'm going to put it in form of the motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Buck. Now we're ready for comments or questions. Are there any? I do not hear any, so go ahead. Martin, was that you?
No, go, I'm ready for the question.
Okay. All in favor, aye. Okay. Any opposed?
I think, Stephen,
Okay. Was that a opposition or?
that's all the discussion there.
Okay, so there's 3 for, 1 nay, and the motion carries by a vote of 3 to 1. Okay, thank you all. Can you take just a second, folks? Indulge me just a minute, if you will. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. You'll see that item D would be my stepping away from the Courthouse Remediation Steering Committee and the lead for the Commissioners Court. I want to, first of all, thank you for revisiting this. I think the committee has done an amazing job in trying to keep up with all the responsibilities. You may have recalled that there was a little bit of disappointment that I had expressed regarding deviating from that counsel to the court. And with that being said, I think some of you may have been aware that I felt like that I needed to step away if we were not going to go the direction or if it was not in the best interest of the county. With that being said, Kay and I obviously have worked together, and I just checked with her. She is willing to continue in this effort of her and I doing this. So at this point, I will not submit my resignation from the steering committee or the lead, but I will await the pleasure of the court if it wishes to go to a different direction. So with that said, I'd like to go past item D and on to E, and that's accepting the offer from the Historical Commission extending the deadline for completion of the courthouse remediation requirements to December 1st, 2021. I think you had gotten copies of that last week, and I want to compliment James White for taking the lead to initiate a discussion about that in anticipation of an extension. So that's going to give us virtually the entire year next year, as well as it's going to take about 3 months from the time that we go out to bid. Here's what I anticipate will be a part of this. Because he had authorization for the plans and specifications for both the remediation as well as the rehabilitation, all of that information will come in the form of a recommendation with each of the line items, and that will need your approval on it to go forward with any of the details that are part of this. So I would suggest, gentlemen, since this is my motion of accepting the offer from the Historical Commission, that we formalize it. Mr. Wolf said once the court takes action, then he will engage the assistance of the Attorney General's office to draft a document that expresses the extension from the deadline of March 31st, 2021 to December 1st, 2021. So I'll put that in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, comments or questions?
Just the offer, it's not the actual, contract, right? I mean, are they gonna send us a contract that we will vote on or sign at a later time, or whatever they're offering, we're stepping off into without knowing what it is or being done?
Yes, Stephen, in the email that we received from Mr. Wolf, he had indicated that given the times that we are experiencing right now and the setbacks, that he just, in his executive director capacity, offered an extension for the deadline for the completion of the work on the courthouse here by those additional 8 months. That's all this is just extending
Okay,
the
but I
deadline.
mean, it's open, we're gonna have to sign another contract, because it's the extension of the contract.
You're
And
exactly,
us agreeing, if we agree to this, we're not set in stone, we're not signing a contract for 8 more months. We'll still have a document we'll look at for what we're correct.
you're exactly correct. As his email read, upon the action of the court, then he will engage the attorney with the Attorney General's office to draft up the amendment extending the deadline to Tyler County to that December 1st, 2021. Okay. Any more comments? Are you ready for the vote? All in favor, aye? Okay. Any opposed? And it was unanimous. It takes us to item F, and that's the renewal of Tyler Technologies financial software, and Stephen Stirk has that for the court.
Yes, sir, it's the same software that we been using for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. I don't believe it went up on the price this year, but it's software for all of the tracking of the payroll and all of the expenses on that side of the treasury and auditor use for parts of our financial responsibilities of the county.
Okay,
And I bring that forward for motion.
thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Marshall. Has the second comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sturk, you have item G.
Yes, sir, bringing that form of motions, just accepting your resignation as the point of contact and Science Texas Historical Commission. You expressed that you had some personality conflicts with the executive director and that feel that you could go on being with him, so I bring that as a form of motion.
Okay. So there is a motion. I did. When I had the second phone call to James White, he said he was the one that initiated it, not Mark. My initial conversation led me with the impression that Mark Wolf had initiated it. Right. But that's why I put on item D here, just submit that. There is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Well, I mean, I'm not submitting my resignation, but if you want me to step down, I will, is what I'm saying.
I'm confused, I'll just say,
Okay,
I mean, I thought up here, but you don't want.
I did not formally submit it to the court. That's why we went past item D.
Okay.
Stephen had this item on here based upon just a conversation that was a part of our discussion from a previous meeting, but I am not submitting it at this time since we're moving forward with the recommendation of the steering committee. So there's a motion on the floor based upon what Commissioner Sturk had brought forward. Does that help clarify?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will need a second to move forward, otherwise it will die from the lack of a second. Okay, so it sounds like the motion dies from the lack of a second. So that takes us to item H, Commissioner Sturk.
I don't think we need to do that because we don't need a member of the court if you need to resign, correct?
Correct.
Table, motion to table.
We're going to table item H, which is the appointment of a member of the commission.
No, it's going to do no action.
Okay, so no, we're taking no action on item H. Okay, got it. Item I is transferring funds of monies budgeted to the Department of Public Safety from the county judge's office budget and other funds to cover the expenses of special projects coordinator, to whichever member of the court becomes a new point of contact. Again, we're going to keep that in the office, so if it's a pleasure to continue that, then that's what we will do to supplement the remaining amount of activities for this year, and then we'll move forward into next year. You can always amend it there if you want to. So Commissioner Sturk has that motion on item I.
Yeah, there's not a good point of contact, so we don't need to move any of that money around. We should just state the DPS driver's license.
Okay, so there will be no action. Is that appropriate, Commissioner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so no action on item I. That takes us to item J. That's moving forward with filing for the position of Family and Community Health Agent by authorizing Texas A&M, and Commissioner Sturk has that motion.
Yeah, we've been dealing with this for several months now, and it actually had a meeting with AgriLife 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, however long ago it was, and still they don't have the authority, they got the okay from us to start the hiring process, which basically it probably won't take 6 or so months. It could take 6 or so months. They have a hiring freeze on right now, I believe, because of COVID. Break that in the form of a motion so they can start that process, fill that vacancy that we have in time.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Need a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hudson has that for the second, and that takes us to comments. Gentlemen, since I've been in this position over the last 13 and a half years, myself and Commissioner Martin Nash have overseen that particular department, and I will just tell you, it's over $100,000 a year cumulative to underwrite this. Following the retirement of Kelly Jo, we began to just look into this information to determine exactly what the needs of the county and what was going to be in the best interest of the county. And in a conversation with the current agent, he had indicated a 4-H program. I followed up with that with Dr. Jeff Ripley at Texas A&M, who's over the extension line, AgriLife Extension Services, and he said that they are not putting any requirements on the county to take any of their programs. They make them available. Those are the 2 standing ones. When we started looking into it a little bit deeper, it's a $20,000 county underwriting of the cost to just supplement the income for the position that they pay for. And they have the structure. We just underwrite $20,000 worth of the cost. There's also the office expense for the agent to operate, and then the county also pays a full-time position to support the 2 agents. There was a consideration that maybe supporting the 4-H program through the full-time county employee might be of an assistance to the ag agent in this particular capacity. But I certainly am not comfortable moving forward with that at this time. The program itself, the more I've learned about it, it helps to support A&M's effort to actually seek federal grants for their program. So what I've learned in this process is it may not be the best program for us at this particular time. And that's just my takeaway from it, but certainly the pleasure of the court. But being a part of the representation of the court over these last 13 and a half years and following this, we've hired the agents and the programs in place. I just would want the court to be aware that that would not be a recommendation that I would support for the reasons stated. Now, there may be others that have comments that would want to speak to the court at this point. Anyone?
Do we have a second on this?
Yes, there was a second. Commissioner Hudson seconded.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've talked with the previous person that had this position extensively, and like Judge said, I've been around that program for 16 years. At this point in time, I don't think we need to fill that position. Most of the benefits of having this position it's going to help A&M, not Tyler County. Programs that we were participating in had very little participation. I don't think at this time that we need to hire anybody in that position.
One additional point that I might.
Yeah,
Go.
What I've learned that it supports is the economically, socially economic disadvantaged youth of the county, and not just A&M, but it helps the kids of the county who are in an economically disadvantaged state. That's what I think it is.
I would just say one of their main programs is diabetes education, and that program is currently being offered through the hospital, and there is no charge for it. My understanding from my discussion and also just trying to keep myself up to date for the court's sake is that A&M now charges for participation in their program for their education that they do. It seemed like that there was a duplication of that. To the point, Commissioner Sturk, that you brought up about the children, certainly I recognize that and understand that. But from what I learned in this process, I could not feel comfortable bringing it as a recommendation after everything that I'd learned. Didn't feel like that it was in the best interest of the county, the good of the whole at this point. I certainly think leaving it in place to where as we learn more or take more, I may have a change of heart, but at this time, that's why I have brought it in form of a motion to move forward with the filling of the position at this time. Any other comments?
What part do they, I mean, with the 4-H programs, I mean, does Jacob do that all on his own? I mean, do they not participate in working with the local 4-H programs and doing stuff with it?
Commissioner, I would be delighted if it pleases the court to go back and gather up all those notes and make a report to the court, if that would help. I'd be more than happy to do that. There's obviously our side of it, meaning the court side, and then there's A&M's side of it. And I will be delighted to put that together and bring that back at a later time. If it is that we not move forward with it at this point, or if we do move forward, then obviously that'll clarify itself to everybody. But to remember the specific points, I didn't come prepared to articulate those at this time.
Well,
So then when we do move forward with them finding a person, that's gonna be months down the road, we can make an adjustment in between now and then.
It would be hard, it would be very difficult not to hire somebody that would talk to you.
what did he say?
It would be difficult not to hire somebody that they brought to us as their recommendation for the position.
I mean, we're part of that process. We interviewed, we're the one that recommended to A&M through the hire.
I thought A&M recommended us, they hired, they who we hired.
We got an interview and the judge and I did all the interview.
On this last time, Stephen, I will say that A&M had reached out to us. They had incorporated an in-house interview program. They had 2 candidates that they recommended, and they had scored those candidates, and one candidate had just a few more points. At that particular time, we deferred, because both of them were actually local candidates, as I recall. We deferred to them in their system and their scoring system because we believed that both candidates would be outstanding in their own right. So, but to Commissioner Nash's
But
comment,
they bring it to y'all, right? I mean, they have a process to bring y'all the top 2, the top 1, whichever it is. I mean, we don't go through every application that applies, is that correct?
you're exactly correct, Commissioner. But what Commissioner Nash is referring to, especially, I guess, within the first year or 2 that I was here, and we had gone through some replacement candidates, we were a part of the interviewing process at that time. So it has been done both ways, where they interview, they make a recommendation of the top 2. We interview, we make a recommendation of the top 1 locally. I do understand that there is a candidate who is interested in the job, who lives in the county, and is expressing a desire to be considered for the position. I'll just add that to our thought process. Any additional comments? Okay. All in favor, aye? And those against, it would be myself, Commissioner Nash,
Against.
okay, Commissioner Marshall. Okay, so there is, it's majority rule 3-2, and so they'll move forward with the hiring and filling a position for the family and community health agents. All right. That takes us to item G, and that's the award the construction contract for the city of Ivanhoe. And we have some folks representing that here today, though. Good morning again.
Hi there. If you recall, I was here about a month ago when we had a bid opening for the City of Ivanhoe's portion of the GLO contract for Harvey Infrastructure. And in opening the bids, we had to, do you have the packet?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we had two bidders, Gulf Coast and Mason, with Gulf Coast coming in at the lowest bid. So going through their numbers, they came in at 269, 630, 35. And that was a lot higher than what was allocated for the budget for the City of Ivanhoe. So going through the bid items, we saw that we could reduce it by removing some of the drainage items in the project. The city agreed to do those items. So we wrote a letter to Gulf Coast to see that if they were agreeable to removing those items, which would mean it would reduce their contract. Part of the package is a letter saying that they're okay with moving forward with that contract. And the city had a special meeting on Friday to whether or not to accept my engineer's recommendation. I believe that the city did go ahead and accept Gulf Coast to award, well, they want to award it to Gulf Coast. We're here to also get the county to authorize the award of the contract.
Okay.
So, in the packet, there will be a change order that removes those line items to reduce Gulf Coast's contract. I have it here, the mayor has already signed it, and we will need the judge to sign it as well.
Okay. All right. So we need to act in the form of a motion to award the construction contract based upon the presentation given to the court to Gulf Coast in their bid for this particular project. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I'll make
Commissioner.
it.
Thank you. Okay, there's a motion with a second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Okay, and it is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll get those signed after we finish board here. Item L is to ratify the election contracts with other political subdivisions, including but not limited to cities and schools. Yanis, our esteemed county clerk, has this motion.
This is done annually for us to have a joint election with schools and cities. It saves them money, it saves the county money. Voters love it, everything's on one ballot.
Very good. All right. Okay, there's a motion to ratify the election contracts.
Second.
With a second, comments or questions? Mike did. Any comments? All in favor, aye. Commissioner Nash, how do you vote? Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you. Commissioner Hudson, I believe you have a report for the court regarding the annex renovation project.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to go to a certain place to give it, or just right here?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I don't need a microphone. I'm not even gonna stand up. Is that okay? But, I did check down there last week. I haven't been this week yet, but, as far as I can tell, they've, completed most of the electrical. The plumbing was pretty much almost ready to be finished. They've worked on the ADA parking spaces out front with some sidewall work also. The building is full of sheet rock, and I think a lot of it is already up. They were supposed to start on it last week, and so if that be the case, we're down to painting, ceilings, tile, and flooring, and hopefully, I would say I'm not quoting anybody, but I would think as fast as that part moves, if they've got the materials, hopefully within the next several weeks, we should be tidying it up down there. They didn't give me any actual, well, they gave us a pretty long timeline, but I know that was just to make sure they had enough time, so, but it's moving along quite well. Good.
Commissioner,
Very nice.
do you recall the date that particular incident occurred last year?
It's in August.
Isn't that amazing?
It was in August.
That's we're almost exactly a year.
And I feel like by the end of the month, just from what I've observed, you don't want to just keep bugging them about it, but it's coming along rather nice, and it's gonna be something I think we'll be really proud of when it's finished.
Thank you. All righty. Is there anything for executive session? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all. And, Jill, do you have documents that you need the commissioner's signatures on? Okay, just no documents.
No, doctor.
So you'll, could be free to move back.
Yeah.
I'm there.
What time?